You are basically in charge of America's finances. In some sense, you are. So we have just withdrawn from the Paris Climate Accord. Do you think that that improves America's finances?
I absolutely do. You and I have talked about this before, Stuart, that every time I'm in the Oval Office talking to the president about a policy, he asks me, does this help us get America's economy back on track? The number we use in our office is a 3% GDP growth on an annual basis, and a sustainable 3% at that. That is the filter that we look at every single one of our policies through here at the White House, and that's exactly what we did here as part of the Paris discussion. Was being in the Paris Agreement going to help us to revitalize the American economy? The answer was no, so we got rid of it. Fairly simple.
One of the big talking points this morning is a disappointing jobs report. Only 138,000 jobs created last month. The writing seems to be on the wall to Congress. Get on with it, stimulate the economy with a tax cut. Now, I believe you were a Freedom Caucus guy before you took the budget director's job. And I know you're laughing. I've been harshly...
I was. I mean, I'm not ashamed of that.
But I've been harshly critical of the Freedom Caucus for holding up Obamacare reform, and I think maybe holding up tax reform as well. Surely the Republican Party understands that if you don't get this done, you're in deep trouble next year.
I agree with your conclusion. I disagree with some of the suppositions. Half of the Freedom Caucus supported the Obamacare repeal and replace package in the House at the very early stages. It was actually a combination of folks on the right and in the center of our party that prevented that bill from moving forward as quickly as it possibly could. So I disagree with the premise that the House Freedom Caucus is the one holding things up, but I absolutely agree with the conclusion. And I think what you're seeing is that the jobs numbers we saw today are reflective of that. What do I mean by that? The jobs numbers may reflect industry, capital sitting on the sidelines waiting for us to repeal Obamacare, waiting for us to get to tax reform before they commit fully to this economy. They like what they see out of the president. You've seen that in the stock markets. But in terms of actually making those investments that drive up the job numbers, drive up the GDP numbers, I think they're waiting on Congress to act, and that should be as much motivation as they need to actually get back to work.
Before you go, sir, earlier this hour on this program, we interviewed Fox News military analyst Jack Keane on the new aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford, USS Gerald Ford. Just roll tape for a second and we'll get your comment later, sir.
I don't think the president's proposal goes quite far enough to rebuild the military in the manner that he was talking about. It's only a 3% increase in defense spending in 2018 over the Obama's plan for 2018, and it's just not enough.
Director, he's a former four-star general. Yeah. He says, look, that 3% boost in military spending is just not enough. You're in charge of the budget. Can you give him any more?
I agree and disagree. I think it isn't enough to accomplish everything that the president said, but again, it's just the first year. We've laid out, or in the process of laying out, a new strategic plan and how to grow the military in order to conform with the president's promises. You can't do that. It's physically not possible to do that all in 1 year. The $54 billion, we hear that 3% above what President Obama suggested, but not what President Obama actually approved. It's a 10% increase over what President Obama actually approved in his last year in office, and that's what we focus on. It's also the $54 billion of increase gets us back to where we would have been without the sequester, another promise that the president is keeping from the campaign trail. So I agree with the general generally that there's a lot more work to be done. I disagree with the 3%, but I think we can all agree that we're moving things in the right direction for the first time in a long time.
Can I ask you if you're enjoying yourself?
I'm having a blast.
That was a quick answer, I got to say. You're having a blast, really? I mean, yeah. You're the focal point of a lot of criticism, and some of it's very harsh.
It is, but it's wrong, and the worst kind of criticism is the criticism that's right. Accuse me of being wrong when I'm wrong, and that's not a very fun day at work, but accuse me of being wrong when I'm right, that's fun because I can go on and push back. I've enjoyed doing that for the president. I've enjoyed delivering the message. This has been a great place to work. All the stories you hear about the discord is wrong. Everybody likes coming to work every single day, and we think we're starting to make a difference.
I have to tell you, sir, that we put you on live on this program once when you announced the budget and again when you were testifying before Congress. And on both occasions, the ratings stayed strong. In other words, sir, you're a valuable guest because you don't turn the audience off when you're talking about the budget. That's unheard of in America.
Yeah, the irony is I took the job because he promised me I could work and didn't have to go on TV, but, you know, there you go.
And look at you now, having a blast on TV. Mick Mulvaney, Budget Director, it was a pleasure, and thanks for being on the show, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Stuart.